Hello and welcome to STH English. In focus today is a statement made by the Deputy Army Chief, Lieutenant General Rahul Singh of the Indian Army. I will play shortly a summary of the statement that he made, which has grabbed many headlines, not just here in Pakistan but also in India. It's about 4 days old. We should have taken it up earlier, but because of our weekly holidays, we didn't really focus attention on this and we didn't do any STH English, and therefore we are taking it up now. Let's play that statement and see what this man, who is occupying a very important post, had to say. He was talking to his own audience, was trying to explain what happened and where it happened and how it happened with regard to Operation Sindhoor. And in his own universe, he is trying to explain the dynamics of this operation, but he ended up creating a lot of confusion. So what was he saying?
Few lessons that I thought I must flag as far as Operation Sindhoor is concerned. Firstly, one border, two adversaries. So we saw Pakistan one side, but adversaries were two, and if I would say actually four or three actually. So Pakistan was the front face. We had China providing all possible support, and it's no surprise. And another thing that China perhaps has seen is that he is able to test his weapons against, say, various other weapon systems that are there. It's like a live lab which is available to. So it's a good. That is what is something we have to be very, very cognizant about. Turkey also played a very important role in providing the type of support that was there. Bayraktar, of course, he's been giving from before. We saw numerous other drones also coming in, landing in the face of war, during the war, along with trained sort of individuals who were there. The next important lesson is the importance of C4ISR and civil military fusion. There is a lot to be done as far as this domain is concerned. DGMO level talks were going on. Pakistan actually was mentioning that we know that your such and such important sort of vector is primed and it is ready for action. I would request you to perhaps, pull it back. So he was getting live inputs as far as from China. So that is one place we really need to move fast and take appropriate action. We do not have the luxury like, we would have been seeing the way Israel, they have the Iron Dome, a number of other air defense features that they have. We do not have a luxury because our country is vast. So, and such things cost a lot of money. So we need to again look at innovative solutions. Another lesson I think from Operation Sindhoor was need for a secure supply chain. So we found, Mr. Ashok again talked about that the pain because an equipment was not inducted on time. He was looking at it from the industry point of view, but I was looking at it from a military perspective that an equipment which was supposed to get in by say January or last October, November was not available to us.
Now, I'm not going to focus attention on his strange ways of explaining military strategy because after all, one has to give due deference to the person's position and the office that he's holding, and one has to make an assumption that he knew what he was talking about. So I will not focus attention on that, but purely from a layperson's perspective, and as a journalist who has been covering conflict areas and military strategy happens to be my field of interest, not necessarily of expertise, I'm struck by a few glaring issues that should really be a reason for the Indians to worry rather than to take inspiration from or develop their understanding about Operation Sindhoor. Now, if you were to look at the first sentence that he spoke, he talked about how many enemies was India actually fighting. So he starts off with India was fighting 2, not 3, but 4 enemies. Now, I can understand if I were to speak extempore like I'm extemporing now, there is a certain chain of thought that will develop and I might start to digress. And rhetorically, I can talk about the number of challenges that I'm facing. I could say that I'm facing 2 challenges, and then there's an afterthought. I'll say I'm facing 3 challenges, and then not really 3, actually 4 and 5. I can understand that because I'm speaking off the cuff, extemporing, developing a thought as I speak to you, and there's a possibility that I may add more substance to my initial argument. But here you're not talking about an ongoing thought. Here you're talking about an operation that was planned, an operation that was conducted, an operation which, according to them, is paused, an operation that had clear-cut strategies, goals, deployment of resources. The entire rigmarole that goes into the idea of creating an operational strategy and then implementing it on ground. All of that had happened. So it's a fait accompli. In other words, it's a done deed. So here he's talking about a done deed. And in that done deed, the man seems to be utterly confused as to what was the number of enemies that India was supposed to be fighting. Was it supposed to be one? Was it two? Was it three? Was it four? Now you can imagine that when you're planning a military operation, your entire supply chain of the resources, your entire conceptualization of the battlefield challenges is based on your enemy's capacity. If you're not too sure, or you're not even sure, not too sure, you're not even sure how many enemies you have, what sort of a battle plan would you be able to form? What sort of a strategy would you be able to create? What sort of resources are you going to be deployed? I mean, what sort of an army is this that didn't even know how many enemies was India fighting? So in all probability, they knew that there was only enemy one that they were fighting, which is Pakistan. But because Pakistan did much better than what they had anticipated, it was their fault that they had left out of their calculation Pakistan's actual capability and not assumed capability based on which they created this entire operational strategy, and it was a faulty one. It was just one enemy that they were fighting. But since Pakistan had done remarkably well, belying all their expectations, now they're adding on post facto more enemies to the list. So there were the Chinese and there were the Turks, and everybody just came in and therefore did what? Sounds like somebody who has just failed a basic exam explaining things to the parents or to the audience that, I didn't anticipate how high the temperature is going to be, and my ink ran out, and the examination hall was not really conducive for attempting the paper, and that the chair had a little nail in it which was, grating against my body or whatever. It seems like a post facto excuse list, a litany of excuses rather than a genuine introspection via retrospection. The armies do not plan operations if they do not know how many enemies they are fighting. So that's point number one. Another interesting thing that the general put out that comes out very clearly relates to his take on supply chains. So when you create an operational strategy, you make sure that everything that you assume important to you is there in the supply chain. If you assume that a certain number of aircraft are needed, the aircraft have to be there. If you assume that in certain bases, certain number of shells are there, the shells are supposed to be there. If you assume that certain parts of our aerial reconnaissance technology are missing, you make sure that these missing parts are there for you to execute your strategy. You do not go into the battlefield without having secured the supply chain. And here you have the Indian general telling you that there were supply chain problems. I'm just wondering, if there were supply chain problems, this was an operation that was not in reaction to what Pakistan was doing. This was an operation that you imagined would be a great success, that you planned in your own ops room, that you created so much hype about pre and post operation. It was your operation. If you weren't ready, if the supply chain was problematic, why did you go into the war? What were you thinking that you could actually go there with gaping holes in the supply chain? Frankly, whatever books I have read, and I'm assuming that I've read less books as compared to the worthy general who was speaking on behalf of the Indian state, because this happens to be his career, his profession. That's what these guys are trained to do. But even the few books that I have read tell me that no army is going to jump into a war plan that it is conceiving itself. It is not foisted upon it. It's not responding to a situation. They planned it at their own leisure, would go into a war plan without securing the supply chain. Take another issue that the general raises, the size of India. And when it comes to defending your country, you do not tell the people that the country is too large to defend. Whether it is too large to defend is something for you to discuss inside your ops room. You are not going to go out there and talk to the public and tell them that the country is too large to defend. It's like somebody saying that, well, I want to record this interview, but frankly, it is too huge a task for me to perform. Then what would be my response to that? Then don't record the interview, right? If it is too large a task for you, then don't do it. Why are you doing it? So you inspire no confidence in your public, and you become the laughing stock of the world when you say that the country that you're supposed to be defending is too large. So you present your country as a difficult proposition. Normally, you would have army generals say the adversary is a tough nut to crack. The adversary has strategic depth. The adversary has so many advantages vis-a-vis us. You do not start to talk about your own vulnerabilities. You may talk about the capacity of the adversary, but here you have the Indian general talk about India being vulnerable, India having supply chain problems, and Pakistan was not just one country, there were actually 4 enemies that we were fighting. If this is the equation, next time round, when you restart your paused Operation Sindhoor, the same equation is going to hold. You may be able to plug your supply chain problems, but India's size is not going to change. And if you believe that Pakistan has the support of 4 countries, this time round probably there'll be 6 countries supporting Pakistan based on your own calculation. So if you couldn't pull it off the first time round, do you think you'll pull it off the second time round? I think that's the question that I should not be asking. The Indian public and the journalists should be asking the Indian army.